What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. And today we're going to talk about post-spawn bass fishing, the baits that I use, the places that I look, so on and so forth. Also, I would really like to say I appreciate all the support, guys. We're up to like 244 subscribers and growing every day. Got over 24,000 views. I really appreciate it. So just don't forget, I really appreciate y'all's support. And if you feel like the content that I'm giving you is worth your time, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. So stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. We're going to talk about the post spawn, what happens. So basically, what we're talking about is we went through the pre spawn. I've went over all that with you. You can reference back to my videos, and that'll kind of help you where we're at on all this. And then you have the spawn, which the pre spawn and spawn occurs at the same, not the same time, but it happens. Generally, when fish start moving up to spawn, you have other fish that are in pre-spawn mode, and then you'll have another wave of fish come in, and that's when the first ones move out, and then they become post-spawn fish. So these post-spawn fish, right now what is going on is most of the fish are already done spawn. These fish are skinny, they're tired from the spawn, so on and so forth. These are the fish that you catch and you look at their tails and it's all bloody and everything else. They're skinny, they're kind of lethargic. That's kind of how I determine whether or not that fish is pre-spawn, spawn, or post-spawn. Spawn, obviously, I mean, if you see them on beds and stuff like that, then you know they're spawning. But anyways, how I target these fish will depend on weather conditions and stuff like that. So what I'm saying, like all around the country, during the post spawn, you're going to have the shad spawn going out, and that is very important to a successful day on the water. I'm not saying that you can't catch fish without the shad spawn going on, because obviously you can. We did that today, but if you find that shad spawn, it makes it a lot easier. Here in the next few videos or the next video or something like that, I'm going to cover the shad spawn. But one of the easiest ways to find the shad spawn, you want to get at the boat ramp super early in the morning and look for a lot of birds in one area. I'm not talking about driving down the bank and you see a crane sitting over there, chomping on a couple minnows. I'm talking about if I see 4 or 5 loons in one spot, 3 or 4 herons, whatever, that's where I'm going to target specifically. And I'm only making a few casts. If I get bit, I get bit. If I don't, I don't. Also, if the shad spawn's going on, you'll definitely know about it because it's like a washing machine in the water. There's a lot of stuff happening all at once. So you'll kind of know if it's going on or not. It's one of those things that you can't miss. So now, other places that I target besides the shad spawn, let's say the sun's already come up and the shad spawn's already over. So a lot of places that I really like to look is docks. When the sun gets up high, docks is just a good place for those fish to set up, suspend, and recover. And that's one of the things that I do very well fishing is catching suspended fish. I've always said, if somebody can figure out how to really, really catch suspended fish, then they can do very well in tournaments. And that's how I've done well, is just by catching those suspended fish. It doesn't matter what season we're talking about or what's going on. I've always been decent at catching suspended fish. So, whether it's a floating dock or a wooden dock, it doesn't really matter. It's just I want to target, when I first start fishing that dock, I'm going to target every single piece of that dock. So I'm going to hit the backside. I'm going to hit the bridge that comes out. I'm going to hit all up under the dock. Maybe there's a pontoon under there. I'm getting where that pontoon and stuff is, everywhere. And as soon as I catch a fish, let's just say the fish come off the very end of the dock. Well, then I just make a mental note of that. I say, okay, well, I caught that fish off the very end of the dock. So then I'm moving down and, fishing through the rest of the docks the same way. But as soon as I get bit again, I take note of that. So my rule of thumb is, this is just my opinion, if I catch one fish, it's a it's a coincidence. I'm sorry. If I catch 2 fish, something's going on. If I catch 3, I've got a pattern. Okay, so what I'm saying is if I catch 2 fish back to back off end of a dock, then I know something's going on right there, either at that dock or, I can start patterning it through the rest of the docks. But now, if I fish that dock and I catch 2 or 3 fish at the same spot, and then I go 3 or 4 docks down and I catch them in the same spot on it, then we've got a pattern. Okay, we know what's going on. So one of the things that I really like to use to fish around docks and stuff is a weighted wacky worm, or either just a weightless wacky worm. That all depends on weather. So how do I put it? If it's really, really, really windy, obviously I want some weight because I don't want my worm getting blowed around everywhere. So what I do, I've got a little box here, and I keep all my little nail weights in it. And I have several different colors of worms and stuff already rigged up. This has got a nail weight in it. And then I've got other ones that are, they've got the nail weight in it. And I've also got the O-ring on it, the Yum O-ring, or Wacky tool, whatever you want to call it. And typically I run a 1/0 or a 2/0 VMC. This is a weedless wacky hook. And the reason I run the VMC weedless wacky hook, these are actually fluorocarbon. And I don't know if it's true or not, but in my opinion, every time that I've fished with a weedless hook that has the wires and stuff like that, it just seems to me like I do not get bit as much. So that one I haven't had an issue with, so I just use it. Like I always say, it's just personal preference. So, if you don't like the weedless style, you obviously don't have to use it. But I've never had a problem with it. I don't get hung up near as much, so I use that a lot. So basically, if you haven't watched my How to Skip Docks video, you need to go back and check that out. Basically, what I do is I skip that wacky rig, whether it's weightless or weighted, all around them docks, and I work it. Not super fast, not super slow. I kind of vary my retrieve and stuff like that and try to cover as much water as I can as fast as I can. And then I start figuring that pattern out. Now, another way that I like to target docks and willowgrass, don't get me wrong, riprap's a great thing to use this time of year to, help you find a pattern on lakes. Fishing riprap, docks, willowgrass, milfoil, whatever type of structure that you have in your lake, square bill is amazing. So I use a square bill a lot. And there's 2 square bills that I use this time of year. This is the American Shad color by Lucky Craft. And I swapped the hooks out to 4/0 EWG Gamakatsu hooks. Now, the only reason that I do that, these extra wide gap hooks, a lot of times these fish are just going to swipe because they're not necessarily feeding to feed. They're just irritated, something. I don't know exactly what's going on. But a lot of times they didn't get your bait good. These extra wide gap hooks, these size 4 extra wide gap hooks really, really help with a hookup ratio. So I throw this on a 7-foot medium cranking Duckett Green Ghost rod, and I've got the Daiwa CC80. This is one of the cheapest combos you can get. I mean, the rod's like $79 and the reel's like 50, 60, 70 bucks. I mean, I've never had an issue with it. I use it all the time. I'm one of them guys, I'm gonna tell you straight up. A lot of the stuff companies make is made to catch fishermen, not fish. I've caught just as much fish on cheap crap as I have expensive crap. And don't get me wrong, it's all good, but stay within your budget. Don't overwhelm yourself with products, buy a little bit at a time. But basically what I do with my square bill this time of year, I'm bringing this lure to life. What I mean by that, when I'm casting it out there and it hits the water and I'm reeling it, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to burn it as fast as I can. I want this thing going crazy. I want it going everywhere. Do that for a little while, don't get bit. Speed it up, slow it down. Speed it up, slow it down. Speed it up, slow it down. Speed it up, pause. Speed it up, pause. It's just a revolving thing. I want to bring this thing to life as much as I can. I want to make it seem as natural as possible. So just vary your retrieves and stuff, and you'll eventually figure out how the fish want it. Because a lot of times it has nothing to do with the bait that you're using; it's how you're using the bait. So if I'm getting bit on this American Shad color, I could probably swap to a crawdad and do or a crawdad color and do the same, presentation and still catch fish. So, but there is a couple different things that I do different. So the American Shad, I usually run this thing in clear water, any kind of clean water. That's what I run. The main reason is it looks very, very natural. It looks like a natural bait fish. Don't forget what I said earlier in the video. This is the time the shad spawn's going on, so these fish are interested in the shad. They're eating shad a lot. Now, the only time that I swap up my square bill if I'm dealing with muddy water. So if I'm dealing with muddy water, I swap to a crawfish color. The contrast in the water to me just seems to help the fish find it a lot better. So another bait that I absolutely love to use this time of year, and I love using all year round. It's not a forgotten bait or anything like that. I love this bait. It's a spinner bait. So when I'm dealing with clear water, I'm using this Lavender Shad. This is a spot sticker spinner bait. And you've heard me talk about these before. And the reason that I really like these spinner baits, I can burn them. I'm talking absolutely burn them. And this bait stays true and it has a slight wobble to it. It looks amazing. I didn't even run a trailer on it. I'm not putting a swim bait on it. I'm not throwing a swim bait or a trailer hook, nothing. I'm throwing this thing right out of the package and it's on my line and I'm throwing it out there, reeling it back in. This Lavender Shad color, it's got a little bit of purple in the skirt. It's got that salt pepper white in the blades. It's got like a purple flake in the blades. It's just a very, very, very good bait to mimic bait fish during the shad spawn. What I typically do early in the morning, if I have not found a shad spawn yet, what I like to do is run the spinner bait very fast, and you'll actually feel those shad trying to spawn with your spinner bait. So that kind of helps you eliminate water. Like, okay, well the shad are here, so the bass is not far behind, so I just need to dissect the area. So clear water, beautiful days, the Lavender Shad, it's hard to beat. Now let's say you're dealing with what we dealt with today. This is what I caught all my fish off of today. Caught some decent ones. I didn't catch nothing huge. I don't think that it was the bait. I just think it was, one of those days. I don't really fish that lake. I didn't practice or nothing. I just went up there and fished a little fruit jar tournament. So this right here, y'all have heard me talk about muddy water spinner baits. This is a great one. So we wasn't dealing with super trashy muddy water. The water was just stained. It was just straight up stained. That's the easiest way to put it. So this bait, this is a War Eagle with an orange kicker blade. We've got a big gold willow leaf and a Colorado orange kicker on there. The whole bait's gold. We got a white and chartreuse skirt. It's a very, very good bait. I think this is a 3/8 ounce. So basically what I was doing, I found some willow grass. If anybody that watches me from the area, they fish Bear Creek, they can tell you that lake is full of willow grass. So I was taking this bait, throwing it up in those little pockets of willow grass and bringing it out, and they were just smoking it. We fished a 4-hour tournament, and we caught 15, 20 fish probably. One of them was that 4-pound, 4-ounce bass. So these right here work very, very well in muddy water. One thing that I do want to tell you about fishing spinner baits is very, very simple. I'm gonna do a whole other video on spinner baits, but just always remember this. This is just a good rule of thumb. Muddy water, gold. That's all you need to remember. Muddy water, gold. Clean water, silver. That's all you need to know. Don't be throwing, I'm not saying it's not going to work, but don't throw silver blades in dirty water. For some reason, it just kind of blends in. It's really, really tough to get the fish to bite it. So you might get lucky and catch a few, but if you're not throwing gold blades, you're missing out on a good bite. But the setup that I like to use for spinner baits, this is a 7-foot Duckett Triad. And it's a medium heavy rod. The reason that I throw the triads is for the simple fact of what I was doing today. 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, and I'm still able to make very, very accurate casts with those micro guides. So Micro Magic works really well. The Black Ice, all the Duckett rods work really good. But just my opinion, my preference, get something with micro guides. That way you can get this thing where you need to get it. Now the reel that I like to use, this is a Daiwa CG80. 7:5 to 1 gear ratio. Now, like I covered in another video, your gear ratio is going to be your personal preference. I run a little bit higher speed because I move a lot of water with the spinnerbait. I mean, I cover a lot of water. I want to make 500 casts and catch 5 fish. That's it. I'm not looking to make 500 casts, catch 100 fish. I'm looking to make 500 casts, catch 5 good fish. So I want to get around the really dumb ones, not the really smart ones. That's what I do it on. So just remember, your lower gear ratios, you're going to have a lot more power. Your higher gear ratios, you're going to lose a little bit of power, but you can, you know, take up a lot of line real fast. So the fourth bait, this is a really good, this one's a secret. Not really, everybody knows about it, but it still works. A swimming jig. So I like any white swimming jig. I prefer a G-Money jig. This thing right here, you can just skip it wherever you want to skip it, under docks, through willow grass or whatever. I keep my rod tip high, and I'm just smoking it through that grass. That's about the only thing I use it for besides docks. I'll skip it up under docks, work it around, stuff like that. But, you know, say the docks or willow grass bite. I'm moving it, you know, pretty fast. I'm covering a lot of water. Swim jig, I ain't got nothing in my way. I can cover a lot of water with this thing. So cast it out there, keep your rod tip high, and burn that sucker back. Whole key to it is that I found out my experiences over the years. I want to keep this thing close to the top of the water like the Shad are doing that morning, and that's where most of your bites are going to come on. It'll be like, kind of like a top water blow up, or you'll see them come up, grab it, and turn. So now my setup, I run a 7'4" heavy action rod. This is a heavy fast action Duckett Triad. Once again, the reason that I'm using the micro guides is so I can make accurate casts. The only thing about the 7'4", I really like a 7-foot to skip with, but I'll throw a 7'4" on my swim jigs because most of the time I'm running it through grass. I'm not skipping a lot. So I'm short. That's the only problem. So I mean, if you're a tall guy, 7'4" might work perfect for you. I'm short, so 7 foot works great for me. I'm throwing a 7:1 gear ratio reel. Once again, I want to cover a lot of water. It's not super fast, but it's not super slow either. So just always remember the swimming jigs, white. That's all you got to worry about during the shad spawn. Clear water, I want white. Dirtier water, I'll swap to, you might think I'm crazy, I'll swap to something like green pumpkin with a little bit of orange or blue or something like that in it. So believe it or not, those fish can see the green pumpkin very well in muddy water. That's what a lot of people get wrong. So the last one that I want to talk about, this has been around for 100 years and it still works great. It's kind of one of those things too that a lot of people ask me, they're like, you know, how do you go out and practice and stuff like that? Typically when I practice, I only have one bait. That's it. I got one rod on the deck, one bait, because they bite it from east to west to north to south. They love it. I have no idea why. It looks like nothing that's in there, but this is a Zoom June bug ribbon tail worm. This is my confidence bait. When I was a kid and I didn't know who Iaconelli and Gerald Swindle and Kevin Van Dam and all them folks was, all I knew was my dad could take a June bug worm and rip and romp this thing anywhere and catch fish. I wanted to be just like my dad. So I picked up a pack of these suckers and got to work on them, and they just become my confidence bait. If I feel like I can't get bit, I'm throwing a June bug worm because they eat it. I don't know why. They eat it when they ain't supposed to eat it. But what I do with this thing, I've got a Texas rig set up, Duckett Black Eye, 7 foot, medium heavy. I'm throwing it on a Daiwa Fugo 8-1-1 gear ratio. It's all preference. All preference. I like that high speed reel. That way I can make multiple casts really fast. This is on my practice rod and reel. So basically what I do, I got a old bobber stopper and a 1/4 ounce tungsten weight. I take that June bug worm. You'll notice I didn't say nothing about a hook. And not say one word about a hook, because there ain't no hook on here. I got these screw locks. So it's just a little screw. What I do, I take the June bug worm, bite the head off, makes it flat. I take my screw lock, which is tied onto my line, screw this bait all the way up to the tip top. Bam. Now, I got a ribbon tail worm. Straight, perfect. You can swim it, you can work it on bottom, you can do whatever you want to with it. I get bit, shake it, I ride on. So, that's about as simple as it gets. Now, if I'm in an area and I feel like I need to know like the size of the fish and stuff like that, obviously I'll pick up a different bait, catch a fish, check, see if they're pre-spawn, post-spawn, spawn, whatever. But this is what I have tied on 100% of the time when I'm practicing. I just throw this thing around, I get bit, shake it off, keep going, get bit. Okay, there's a population of fish, so and then I move out. So, guys, there's a little tip for you when you're practicing. Once again, Texas rigs, hard to beat during the post spawn. You'll catch a lot of fish off of it. Those are the baits. Those are my setups. I appreciate you watching. Once again, subscribers keep climbing. I really appreciate it, guys. Might do a giveaway here pretty soon. Just see how everything goes on with the coronavirus and stuff like that. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next Sunday.